Hello, Browns fans. Welcome to the Dawgland Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Joki, alongside Jackson McCurry. Jackman, unfortunately, another Browns loss that we are here to discuss. They fell 27-20 against the New York Jets this past Sunday. And look, the Browns are now sitting at 2-7, and it's just a bad spot to be in. They come out of the bye week unable to get a win. It was a very rainy game, so made it difficult to do a lot of things offensively, but rain hasn't held back the Browns offense this year. It's been a constant thing, unfortunately. But not only was it the Browns offense, the special teams was not great, giving up 2 touchdowns as well. But Jack, your immediate reaction of another Browns loss this past Sunday against New York?
It's frustration. I mean, it's like you said, coming off the bye week, you're playing a bad New York Jets team that just traded their two of their cornerstones. Obviously, their two best defensive players, and you come out. Obviously, a lot of changes happened last week in the organization, and to come out and play like that, like it was embarrassing. It was frustrating. It was like on all three levels. I mean, we could even throw the defense in there, even though like they played well enough, but it was just bad mistakes in the fourth quarter really cost the team a chance to get back into it and tie it. But yeah, just overall, it's a frustrating situation because we're sitting where we are. We're supposed to be on the easy portion of the schedule with opportunities to win some games, and you can't even beat the New York Jets, who are as dysfunctional as we are.
And not to mention, they traded everybody away before the trade deadline, it seemed like, as
Yeah.
well. So, they kind of have a bare bone roster at the moment, and in probably as bad of a quarterback situation as we are in. And I saw this stat, and I just had to shake my head. It's because it seems like there's a lot of these stats that pop up before the Browns loss on Sunday. Teams were 225-0 when gaining less than 175 yards on offense, and your team committing no turnovers. So we did not commit any turnovers, hold the Jets to under 175 yards of total offense, and still managed to lose on Sunday. So
Yep.
it just seems like we always find a different way to lose football games. And this week it was the special teams. They gave up after scoring a touchdown, went down. They were able to score early on, give up a kick return for a touchdown. After that, after they get the ball back, I believe they went 3 and out, kicked the ball away, punt return touchdown. And special teams have been a topic for quite a few years now. We thought things were going to get better after they let Mike Prefer go. They bring in Bubba Ventrone, and things have not gotten any better, whether it's the kicking game, return game, any part of special teams has not been good. And Sunday, they gave up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a constant thing with this team for as throughout the Barry and Stefanski era. It even goes back even farther than that, honestly. Like we haven't had a good special teams unit in a decade. And I remember when we got Bubba Ventrone, it was touted as a home run hire because he was even interviewing for the Colts head coaching job. He was touted as a future head coach, and like he has not performed well. His personnel has not performed well. And I don't know what the solution is with special teams. It doesn't matter if it's kicker, and the coverage on the units, like it's been bad year in and year out. Like we just can't. Like we've had some guys flash. Winston Reed last year. Um, I forget the other linebacker it was a couple years ago, but he stood out as a special teams ace. Like I can't name one guy like who has excelled at special teams that has been eye popping on the field this year for the Browns. Like it, it amazes me, Anthony. We're sitting here Tuesday afternoon, and Bubba Ventrone still has a job just because he has not done well. He has not coached well, getting guys in situations to execute in their roles. Like it's baffling to me. Like, and I really thought Ventrone was going to turn that unit around, and he really hasn't. Now, is that all on him? No, you can credit that to our scouting department, Andrew Berry in the front office for like not finding guys who excel at special teams. Like I remember this was a couple months ago. I think it was Deion Sanders when because his sons do a lot of the vlogging for behind the scenes in Colorado, and he told his I think it was his corners and his receivers. He's like, if you guys aren't on special teams, you will have no chance to make it to the NFL. And he goes, even I, who was a top 5 pick, I played special teams my first couple years in the league. Like we used to have stout special team units when Cribbs was here, when Dawson was here, when you had Blake Costanzo and I'm just trying to think of other names like the, Bubba Ventrone was another guy who's a special teams ace on our team for many years during the 2000s, and it's like it has become an afterthought in the league. I know they keep trying to change the kickoff rules to try to make it more exciting, but special teams is just not fun to watch. And we always talk about complimentary football. Like, if they're not helping us out, like that just even spells even more of a disaster when the offense isn't helping the defense or vice versa. So I don't know what the solution is, but I would imagine they're probably going to make another coaching change, at least in that on that side of the ball. But what an atrocious effort by them on Sunday.
Yeah, it's the special teams have been really rough, and I have a maybe of solution, and I have this Ohio State sweatshirt on. Can we bring in Jim Tressel just to coach special teams for the next, however long, just to try to fix things? I say that as a joke. I don't really mean it, but
I
you know,
know.
going back as him saying, the punt is the most important play in football, and when you give up punt returns for touchdowns, sometimes that can be true, and it costs the Browns in this aspect.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. Like I was sitting there we went out to eat after church, and I look at my phone and I see a kickoff return like right after Njoku scores opening. I think it was the opening drive touchdown for the Browns offense, and then it was like it wasn't even 5 minutes after that it was the punt return touchdown. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and I think I had to double check it, but I thought I saw a stat that said since Ventrone has taken over, we've given up 3 kickoff return touchdowns and 3 punt return touchdowns, and we're the only team in the league to do that. So, like, I mean, it's everybody should be to blame for that, but I mean, obviously, Bubba Ventrone as the special teams coordinator, like he gets most of the blame, and with good reason because it's like the effort, the execution, like has not been good. Like Corey Bajorquez is the only really bright spot on special teams. He's been phenomenal punter since he's been here, but from the kicking situation to now this with the return coverage units, it's not looking good for Bubba Ventrone.
I will give them one very small piece of credit about Sunday, and that is at the end of the first half, being able to rush the field goal unit on there while the clock was running, getting down, getting set, and kicking the field goal in a very tough situation in the rain. I will give them a very, very small piece of credit for that. It's hard to give them a lot of credit when special teams, cost them 14 points on Sunday, but at least in that aspect, they were fine and did a good job. But that's what they need to do. That shouldn't be, oh, wow, let's call that out every single week. That's something that needs to be consistent. And they need to be able to do that week in, week out, and not, oh, this happened one time sort of thing. So hopefully they can figure out the special team situation and it's not costing them 14 points every week. I know they're not going to give up punt return touchdowns and kick return touchdowns every week. And we could cut to of maybe this next Sunday where they do it again, and we'll just play this back after the Ravens do it to us this Sunday. But let's talk about the offense because again, it is a very tough thing to watch. And this past Sunday, Dillon Gabriel, 17 to 32, 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, was sacked 6 times. He also had 5 carries for 54 yards on scrambles. But the biggest thing about this offense this past Sunday was one, missing wide open throws. And at some points, these throws going 10 feet over people's heads. And 2, finding themselves in so many third and 15 plus yard situations. I saw a list, and I want to say it was 6 or 7 times that they were third and 15 or longer. And when your offense is struggling like the Browns offense has this season, those are situations you can't afford to put yourself in, and Dillon Gabriel certainly did not help any of the situation on Sunday.
No, even though he's nominated for NFL Rookie of the Week, which I did find extremely comical. And when the nominees came up and he was up on there, I'm like, man, this is the league trying to throw a bone to the franchise right now by trying to make some sort of positivity out of this. But Anthony, when he's throwing it over guys' heads, or like it's I think it was Jerry Judy or Njoku was like 4 yards in front of him and he couldn't even get it to him and the ball goes in the dirt. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I know the game is faster, but when I go back and watch Oregon Dillon Gabriel and I see him throwing the ball downfield to Evan Stewart or whoever was at receiver when he was there, like, is it the play calling? Is it the coaching? Is it the offensive line? Like, is he so shell shocked from what the league has done since he's been able to get out on the field to, like, it looks like two completely different quarterbacks. And I know that's happened a lot over the years. I heard someone say he's like Colt McCoy, Kellen Moore, Chase Daniel, guys that could rip it in college. And then once you get to the league, like, your arm strength, your arm talent is exposed. Like, this is what has become a Dillon Gabriel. And like, it's not fun to watch. It's frustrating to watch. Like, I know the one play that a lot of people have pointed out was it was a screen pass to Malachi Corley, and there was nobody around him. Like, if Corley could have caught it, if he had a chance to catch it, like, he could have made a play like he's done the several times he's been able to touch the ball this year. Like, could have got downfield, got in a position to score a touchdown. But it's bad. Like, even like Spiro Ditas, like the touchdown throw to Judy, talking about it was a great throw. Like, that ball still sailed and was so slow. Like, I was worried that Judy wasn't going to be able to get it. Credit to him to track it and be able to haul it in. But these throws it's embarrassing to watch. Like, he looks like one of the worst quarterbacks we've seen since '99, and that's saying something since we've been through 40 plus. But it, I was said it a couple weeks ago. I think it's time to pull the plug, but clearly they're not doing that. But I feel like we've seen enough of Dillon Gabriel to make our assessment that he is not a starting caliber quarterback for the NFL. He could be a backup for a long time, I think. We just mentioned some of the guys that were in the league for a long time as a backup, and maybe he'll be a future coach one day. But I think we've seen enough in 5 starts to determine that Dillon Gabriel just ain't it for the Browns.
Yeah, and I think you agree with me here that we probably said this a couple weeks ago, but it's time for them to see what they have with Shedeur,
Yes.
and because it is time. Does this put Stefanski in a no-win situation? Because if Shedeur goes out there and balls out, it's going to be like, why wasn't he playing this whole time? So if you stick with Dillon Gabriel, is that going to get him fired? Like, I don't think that he is in any sort of winning situation at the moment. If you go out and play Shedeur, and he looks like a competent NFL quarterback with what else you've put on this field this year. So, do you see Shedeur getting any playing time anytime soon?
It looks like it's not. And I can't help but wonder, and I know other Browns fans have, Anthony, it's like, if we're not seeing Shedeur now, then were we biding time for Gabriel until who is cleared to practice? And then we start that 21-day window of seeing, okay, we'll just call it for what it is, Deshaun Watson out there. Like, do they know that Shedeur ain't it, and they're just buying time for Deshaun to come back? Makes you wonder. Like, this week, he's not being designated to return. That's already been reported through the media. So, like, I just don't get it. Like, yes, there's been rumblings about Shedeur behind the scenes, not understanding things and all that, but like, why at this point? Why does it matter? We're 2-7. We know what's coming with at least part of this regime. Like, it just seems like we're heading down that road. Why not see what we got in Shedeur? Like, we're in the top 5 in the draft right now. If Shedeur comes out, elevates the offense here down the stretch, that's fine. Then you have a quarterback for 2026. But if he doesn't, then we're in position to go draft somebody next year. Like, this is something we do almost every year in Cleveland since '99. Like, what makes this year any different? Like, let Shedeur play, see what he's got. For Stefanski, honestly, it doesn't matter either way. Because if, like you said, if Shedeur plays well, then that just shows that there's something there between him and Kevin Stefanski. And if he goes out there and plays poorly, then the organization has the organization continues to spiral out of control like it's been these last several weeks. So I think we can all agree it's time to see Shedeur. Let's see what he's got. I think we've seen enough on Dillon Gabriel, and it's time to make the change.
Yeah, because you look at, you talked about some of those throws that Gabriel that got away from him, whether it's over guys' heads or at guys' feet. Like, you're telling me Shedeur can't make those throws, you know? From what I had seen from him in college, there is certainly talent there, arm talent and accuracy. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks out there in college. So I have a feeling that if you put him out there, things will look better. But, I still worry about the protection in front of him. We saw just Cam Robinson just get abused this past Sunday at tackle. And, as much as I want to see Shedeur out there, I worry that he won't be protected enough when they do. So, look, you're at a point now in the season where you are in evaluating mode. You are 2-7. You have 8 games left. You need to figure out who's going to be part of your roster next year. And if that's Shedeur being the quarterback next year, great. But let's find that out now. Let's not go into the offseason without, a plan and take a quarterback high without finding out what you have. And look, if he goes out there, plays well, okay, then you could pass on a quarterback in the first round and, start Shedeur next year. If he goes out there in these last 8 games and you determine, he doesn't have what we need, then you draft a quarterback in the first round, whether it be with that first round pick or the second one that you have. You have 2. So I'm all about evaluating mode right now. But I do fear if you go into like full evaluating mode, does that start to lose the locker room? So far, they've been able to keep everything intact and everybody focused. But if you go fully into that mode, that's where things can really start to derail at the end of a season. Granted, you're 2-7 and your season's probably over at this point, but it can always get worse in terms of what the locker room holds.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like them sticking with Gabriel, yeah, I mean, you could kind of read between the lines on Sunday and some of the post game stuff. Like, you could sense a little frustration with Myles Garrett. You could sense some frustration a little bit with Joel Bitonio. Like, those are your leaders, both on both sides of the ball. Like, Myles kind of deflected the question about the quarterback, and he said that's the offense's situation. Like, he goes, that's up to Kevin, which Myles isn't wrong because obviously Kevin's the head coach, he's the leader. But yeah, I mean, like, it feels like a change needs to happen, and but at the same time, it's like you see what's around Dillon Gabriel right now. The receivers haven't been all that great. Even like Jerry Jeudy had his best game of the year on Sunday. Fannon's been solid as a rookie. Njoku's been solid when he's been targeted. But the offensive line is still an issue. And you mentioned like what Shedeur had to deal with at Colorado and his offensive line. Like, and he's had the tendency to hold on to the ball. Like, it doesn't matter, I think, right now what quarterback's out there because the offensive scheme has been what it's been. The execution of it has been atrocious, but like the personnel around the quarterback has not been promising. Like, the offensive line is aging and it's not looking very good. Obviously, we've talked about that numerous times on here. we want to see Shedeur, but I don't. And honestly, like I don't think the situation's ever going to be perfect for him. Like I've told people, I'm like, do we really want to see him against Baltimore, a team that's getting red hot and picked on Joe Flacco earlier in the season, even though their numbers say they're one of the worst defense in the league? Like, no, but it's as good a time as any. You got 8 games left. I think it's fair to give Shedeur some time to make a full evaluation on him, but I can also get the frustration of those in the locker room because if you're just packing it in officially, then that locker room, if it's not toxic already, will start to get toxic.
Yeah, you got to do all you can to hold it as long as you can, and that's probably one of the reasons they haven't let Kevin go at this point is he's still been able to hold the locker room together through all of this so far this season and through past seasons where things have not gone so well. So we'll see how that all shakes out in terms of what their plan is here over these final 8 games. They do have a handful of teams come up. They have the Ravens this Sunday, then they go to Oakland, back home against the Niners, Titans, on the road against the Bears. So you got some potentially winnable games, but you know, you can't mark any of these games though as that's a guaranteed win. Not with where this team is currently. Granted, you do have a defense that will make things tough for some of those teams, but with how the offense has been, it's still going to make it very difficult to win any of those. So it's just unfortunately where this team is at, and we will still be here to discuss it as we always have. Is there anything you want to chime in with before we wrap this up?
Um, just because I know we talked about it, or we didn't get to it yet, but like the mental mistakes on Sunday, like it's at the end of the game when the defense puts you in a spot to get the ball back with a chance to tie it, and you had 2 back-breaking penalties. Now, granted, the offense probably wouldn't have been able to go down the field and score, but Devin Bush with the defensive holding, and then Cam Thomas on 4th and 4 jumping off sides, like it's just stupid mental mistakes, and that goes to coaching. I'm sure Stefanski and Jim Schwartz have told these guys like, don't jump, like in these situations, like it was just a backbreaking, and that was just like the final nail in the coffin to where I was just like, blow the whole thing up. And I posted that on X. I was like, burn the organization to the ground. Like when that stupid stuff happens, and I'm sure the coaches are yelling like, don't jump off sides, don't jump off sides, and you do that, like I feel for Cam Thomas because I'm sure he's made out to be the GOAT in that situation. Like, but it's just poor. It's just the little attention to detail things that have killed this franchise over the years. Just stupid mistakes, and honestly, from a stupid football team. And that's my final thoughts.
And that's the part that maybe with Kevin kind of irks me the most. Like in situations like that where they commit these bad penalties, but not only those type, but the illegal formations, the illegal shifts, the illegal motions, like all that stuff has added up over these years. And that stuff makes me realize, oh, maybe they're not a good coach football team. And that obviously that falls on Kevin. So that's where when I look at this, that part gives me the biggest red flag is all of these procedural penalties is what irks me the most about where they are.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy, Anthony? They're the team that's tied for the most penalties and leads the league in the most penalty yards is the Denver Broncos, and they have the best record in the NFL. So like some teams have a lot of penalties and they can overcome them, but it always seems like Cleveland has like the back breaking penalties and then it just snowballs or
Well,
ultimately cost us a game like it did on Sunday. Not
well, it's,
that that was like the final thing that cost us the game, but just stupid stuff like that.
it's not always necessarily the penalty yards. It's the type of penalty. If you get
Yeah.
a 50-yard pass interference penalty on a drive, obviously that's going to inflate those numbers. It's the ones in crucial situations like the false starts, like the illegal motions, like the jumping off sides. That kind of stuff is what loses you football games. And we have seen way too much of that over the years with Kevin as the head coach.
Yeah. And like this year, I'm looking at it now, like they're middle of the pack in pre-snap penalties this year. Like they got 25, the leaders 33, but there's almost half the teams ahead of Cleveland. So it's probably toned down a little bit compared to last year, but it's still like you're right. Like those are things where Kevin Stefanski comes out and he goes, "We have to be better. We got to coach better," and they did the same stuff every week. So it's like either these players just don't care, or the coaches aren't even attempting to fix the situations.
Or the players have just tuned out the coaches at this point, which
And if
is
that's the
a
case,
very bad
then
thing to be in.
yeah, bye-bye to the coaching staff if that's the case.
Yeah. All right. We are going to get on out of here. Be sure to give Jack a follow over on X at JackMcCurry08. Be sure to give me a follow at Anthony Joki, Joki. Follow the Dawgland on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, pretty much on all social media platforms at the Dawgland is the handle. Until next time, always remember, go Browns.
Go Browns.